us in Hong Kong and Singapore. In the last 3 years, we have built an.
Hey,
Hi. Well, welcome back.
hey.
The video didn't finish for me. Did it finish for you?
No, I didn't finish, which is fine. That's all right.
Okay. Well, it's a
But
good intro. Good intro.
yeah, thank you so much, Devin. And Devin, thank you so much for being here today. This is such an incredibly important topic. And the reason I say that is because until a year ago, I generally did not know a lot about crowdfunding or about investment. I didn't even know that you can invest as little as $100 in a business up to whatever your capacity is. So that is the topic we're going to be covering today. It's investments and crowdfunding 101. So, Devin, my first question to you is, can you tell us the difference between crowdfunding and a regular investment in a business?
Well, sure. It really is kind of the same thing. There are a few little differences, but a lot of us are, almost all of us, right, have some investments in the stock market, even if we don't think we do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We have investments in our 401ks and our IRAs, oftentimes through mutual funds or ETFs. It's kind of the modern version of that. But a lot of us have these investments and we don't ever think about them because, uh, we're putting 5% of our salary in and maybe our employer's matching that a little bit and it's accumulating and we get statements. But the only thing we ever check is how much money is there, and we don't even check that every time, right? It's because it's money we can't touch for a long time, so we're ignoring it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, you're invested in the stock market in those funds, and so that means whether you are aware of it or not, you're probably buying stocks like Apple and Microsoft and Tesla
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of familiar companies. But almost all of these companies started out as private companies that weren't sold on the stock market. They were sold to early investors.
Mm-hmm.
And since about the 1930s, during the Great Depression, uh, only accredited investors have generally been allowed to own and invest in companies that are private in the same way that people can own the big name companies that are public.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed in 2012. There was a bipartisan support for a law called the Jobs Act that allows people to invest in startups under these new rules called regulation crowdfunding. And it's very exciting. So, Samreen's Vanity and lots of other companies raise capital under these new rules. And that means that everyone in their community can invest. And you don't have to be rich to participate in this. It's a recognition that wealth does not correlate well with brains. It's a recognition that wealth should not drive what's available to you as an investment opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of what's happened is that by only allowing rich people to participate in some of the most lucrative investments, we have exacerbated a wealth divide so that those who are wealthy participate in cool, exciting new investments, and those who are not don't. But now we're in a situation where we need to teach ordinary investors how to invest like the rich people have been doing all along to get
Right.
rich, right?
Yes.
So
Right.
it's one of the great challenges. But yes, so the rules require companies like Samreen's Vanity to raise capital on a portal, a regulated, SEC regulated FINRA member portal. And you
Like
chose to use,
WeFunder or something like that.
yeah, so you chose to use WeFunder, which is a great portal for doing investments. And so you can visit wefunder.com and find lots and lots of companies raising capital there. One of them
Mm-hmm.
is yours. And
Right. Yeah.
a really cool way for people in your community to support your efforts to build a
Mhm.
successful business to serve them. So it's just a wonderful sort of synergistic opportunity to bring your community together. But everyone can
Mhm.
invest, and owning a share of Samreen's Vanity is no different really than owning shares of General Motors, Microsoft, Apple, or Tesla. It's just an investment. The only difference is it's harder to sell your investment in Samreen's Vanity because it's a small private company, and
Mhm.
your shares of Tesla might be easy to share sell. But of course, shares in Tesla might go down tomorrow, so it's doesn't mean you can always get your money back if you invest in Tesla today. So anyway, that's the main differences.
Thank you so much for this in-depth information. Like I say, I'm asking questions for like regular people like me who I just know a tad bit more because I am running a crowdfunding campaign right now. And I will say, like, it is scary, like, to even invest like $500 to separate yourself with your hard earned money. But since last year, I have started investing in companies that I think are going to have a success in future. And I've been trying to build my portfolio. And sometimes I realize I'm like, a weekend of traveling is like $1,000. But if that $1,000 is put into a startup, and letting it, with the plan that is going to be there for another 3 4 years, for example, it's going to have higher returns, like way higher returns. Now my next question is, Devin, that is there a difference of risk factor between investing in stocks or investing in a crowdfunding campaign or a startup?
I think they're remarkably comparable. Now, you have to do good diligence, right? You've got to spend some time figuring out, is the business I'm investing in a good business? And one of the great ways to do that is to read all of the information that a company provides on its WeFunder page. There's a lot of information there.
Mm-hmm.
And the that's required by the portal and by the
Mm-hmm.
Securities and Exchange Commission because it's important. I encourage people to go read that information. But if you read that and build a portfolio over time of investments, like an investment in Samreen's Vanity, you'll
Mm-hmm.
find that you can earn returns that are comparable to the stock market with fairly similar risk, right? It's it is not this is not a hobby. In the
Mm-hmm.
long run, if you get good at investing, it can be just as lucrative to invest in private companies via regulation crowdfunding it is as it is to invest in businesses via the stock market. So yeah, it's both are risky. I want to be really clear, right? If
Yes.
you invest $10,000 in Tesla today, it's entirely possible that in 3 weeks that investment will be worth a lot less than it was today.
Right.
That happens all the time to Tesla
Mm-hmm.
investors. It goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to
Yeah.
be mindful of that. But
Yeah.
when you invest in Samreen's Vanity, you're not going to be able to sell it in 3 weeks. You got to be patient. But in 5 years or 10 years, Samreen, I suspect you envision building a much bigger, much more profitable business over time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you could create some value for your investors. Is that true? Do you think you can build a big business?
Oh, absolutely. We're going global. And I love that I can confidently say that today is because just the trajectory of the brand has been incredible with all the hard work and everything and the community support. As you know, I launched a brand out of my Instagram days as an influencer. And to see it where it is today, where we have like companies like Costco reaching out to carry our products, and we have interest from Asia and Southeast Asia. It's just incredible. Like sometimes it's just like, it sounds like such a big thing when I talk about it, but yeah. And there was one thing I always used to wonder when I would read like this company exited or sold off to Estee Lauder, for example. right? And you'll say, oh, they sold off for $300 million, which is actually a decent number for a really good established beauty brand. So for that, I say I used to be like, wow, I can't imagine how these like people must be making money. $300 million, that's a lot of money. But now when I look at it from a distance, I'm like, even if I get like $500,000 for the investment I made like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm set. So now I've started thinking about it like this. Before it used to be like, oh, I can't invest because I don't have like 10,000, $50,000 sitting around. But now I'm like, absolutely not. I want to be the first one in so I get the best returns. My next question is that, like, I'm doing a crowdfunding campaign right now, and it's ending in 3 weeks. So then I think the regular people like myself, that's when they'll be able to invest. That's a last stop, right? I want to ask you, Devin, that once we go the VC route, venture capital, because we'll need $5 million, 10 million, 50 million, whatever we need to raise, right, to expand our brand. Are the regular people like you and I able to invest in a company once we go the VC round?
Well, it depends. If you do another crowdfunding campaign, people will be able to get in. If you don't, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll be up to you. This may be the only opportunity people have to invest, and it may be the best opportunity to invest at to have the potential
Mm-hmm.
appreciation that could really be huge.
Right. Okay. Because that was my understanding too. I feel like once you go the VC route, you have a totally different kind of fish to fry, for lack of a better word. It's just like, the small investments that have already been made are wonderful. But then at that point, I feel a lot of companies put a tap on like minimum 50,000 or minimum
Yeah.
$100,000 investment. And that's not something that a person like me can just pull off. That could be your entire life
Yeah.
savings or your retirement fund. Now, when people are thinking of investing in smaller firms, what kind of timeline should they keep in mind with their money?
Yeah. It's really important to recognize that when a venture capitalist invests, they typically are doing so with a 5 to 10 year time horizon.
Hmm.
And really, what we're talking about now is investing before the venture capitalists are investing. So we need to be thinking about an even longer time horizon. So when
Right.
you put money in Samreen's vanity, it's not going to be something you get back for Christmas, right? This is not setting aside money that you could have back for your Christmas fund or something else, or
Mhm.
your kid's birthday in August, right? This is money you're parking for a long time. You're
Mhm.
parking it for a long time, and you hope when it comes back that
Mhm.
it's a lot more money than you put in. That's why you do it, but you probably have to plan on letting it sit there for a long time. This isn't money you're going to be able to spend anytime soon.
Right.
It's a good.
When I project uh my forecast, I usually say at least 5 years. I like to be conservative with my offerings, and I just say at least think about 5 years from now. But just think about it, like how much money just sits in our bank account for 5 years. I mean, it could be even just $10,000 that just sits there. But if you're able to invest it into a startup that you believe in, that is just going to convert into like double, triple, like wherever the company is at that stage at that time. And that's what I see on various different platforms. Now, when we use these platforms, when people invest in a company, like if I have $100 and I'm going to invest in a business, is the entire $100 converted into an investment, or there's some hidden fees or things in between that we should know about?
Well, yeah, it's the WeFunder does charge some fees. So if you were going to invest $100, they'll charge a small fee in addition to the $100. It's It's not a big deal, especially if you deliver a big return in the long run. If people are
Mm-hmm.
going to get back hundreds of dollars for every $100 they invest in 5 or 10 years, then that's a small thing that kind of disappears in the as a rounding error. But yeah, there are small fees that WeFunder charges and the investors, and of course, that you'll be paying a fee for out of the money that you receive. Out of the $100, a small portion of that will go to WeFunder, and you have other advisors as well to pay that are
Mm-hmm.
part of the cost. But there is no magic source of money in the world where you don't pay,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's
Yes.
the reality. So
Yeah.
companies like Samreen's Vanity need to pay a little bit to
Mm-hmm.
raise capital. That's just how it works.
I've had some angel investors who have wanted to directly invest with me because they know me, and we had a meeting and they didn't want to go through the WeFunder route because they know that as a business, I have to give a certain percentage to WeFunder. So if you're investing like 10,000, $5,000, whatever it is, a percentage of it is gone to WeFunder, which is a great platform for people who don't know Samrain personally, and they're like, okay, I just want to be careful, I want to make sure my money is secured and it's going to the right person. But yeah, I've appreciated investments which have come directly to me because they're just every penny counts, right? So that's the biggest thing. Now, Devin, you and I met when you invited me to speak at Columbia at one of your events. I'm interested in knowing what did you think about Samreen's Vanity, not about Samreen's Vanity at that time. Now I know you know a lot more about us, but what did you think about Samreen's Vanity that made you invite me? Thank you so much, though. It was
Yeah,
incredible.
we were excited to have you participate at Supercrowd Chicago because of the the fact that you are a woman of color who is
Mhm.
running a business. And the reality is that folks like me, folks who look like me,
Mhm.
middle-aged white men tend statistically to
Mhm.
invest in this crazy thing called middle-aged white men. They tend to invest in people who look a lot like us.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so part of what I do is to
Mhm.
look for opportunities to highlight the work of people who aren't middle-aged white men.
Right.
And
Mhm.
it because it's so for a lot of middle-aged white men,
Mhm.
people who aren't are unfamiliar. And
Right.
I'm trying to develop in myself and others, other middle aged white men especially, the
Mhm.
habit of
Okay.
looking for opportunities to invest in people who are different from us. Because I think there are many spectacular opportunities
Yeah.
to invest in those folks. And we have statistically, the data is really clear. Statistically, we've
Mhm.
overlooked them. And so
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to be very deliberate about not
Mhm.
overlooking them. And of course, I love that you're building a product that's for women of color. And I think that is an especially exciting um, part of what you're doing. And so that's why we were eager to have you participate. Of course, you lived up to expectations. You're a brilliant entrepreneur, and we love what you're doing and love your message and the insights you're sharing. So we really appreciate you taking the time
Thank you so much,
to be with
Devin.
us and participate at Supercrowd Chicago.
No, thank you so much. Firstly, it was such a great experience for me to be in that room with other entrepreneurs and investors. And those kind of things just really like I always need that kind of fire, right? Like we're up to something, we're doing something great. I can't wait for the world to see what we're doing. And like you said, and I want to share my personal experience that it is really hard to go out there and find investors who want to invest in your brand or your product. You could be having a CPG brand, a consumer good brand, like, or a food item or a drink or whatever. People want quick conversions. So everyone right now is into like fintech or like some kind of software development or some kind of probiotic. like stuff like that, which takes forever to grow. And then there's so many possibilities of those things tanking because every other person is out there trying to do that. And I've been told by other investors who were nice, like who have become my friends now, they said it is really hard going out to ask money as a woman of color or a woman, and asking for a cosmetic brand, which very rarely you see a man doing. It's always a woman who's leading it as a founder, if it's a startup like that. So it's unfortunate that people think that. But now this brings me to my next question, Devin, and that is that there are other people who are going to be watching this video or who are connected right now, and they want to come up with a product, or they already have a brand, or they are a brand, however, and they think they need to go out and raise capital. So are there any steps or tips or advice that you can give for people who are just starting to think about it?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. First off, I would say the most important thing I would tell entrepreneurs is that every entrepreneur can raise some money via regulated investment crowdfunding. Everyone can raise some. I acknowledge not everyone can raise enough. It isn't perfect for everyone. Not everyone should do it, but everyone can raise some. And so I encourage everyone who is an entrepreneur to be thinking about whether or not it makes sense for you to do this. And so, the key things that correlate with raising capital this way are having a community, right? Including an existing customer base or an excited customer base like Samreen's Vanity has. And so Samreen's Vanity has been successful already in raising capital under regulation crowdfunding. The offering, I think, is going to end soon. And so this is not necessarily the last day, but soon your opportunity to invest is going to expire and you don't want to miss it. But I think all entrepreneurs should be giving it some thought. That's the first key takeaway for entrepreneurs, is that everyone can raise some money this way. Everyone should give it some thought.
There's one thing I want you to, or I can also chime into this, is that when I was building the brand, I always thought that I bootstrapped, I put in all my investments in because I wanted to get the proof of concept before. So I think it was slightly easier for me when I started my crowdfunding campaign because I was able to show the trajectory of the brand so far. And I was confident that, hey, I've put my money in it. So that's one thing I think investors like to see, is how invested are you in your own brand. So I think that is one thing I was able to check off organically. The second thing that I learned on the job was that going VC round or going to ask for those multi-million-dollar checks can be attractive, and somebody gives it to you. It can really make things easier, but it comes with a lot of stress. Like, these people are not joking around when they give you their money. Like, they have their foot on gas 24/7. And I just think as an entrepreneur, I want to push back going the VC route as long as possible. So this part of the conversation, I want people who are who have a brand or they're trying to launch a brand to understand that although that paycheck sounds really attractive, you want to stay away from it as long as possible, because when your company is small, like Samreen's Vanity, I would say it's a small company right now. Right now, if I were to go to a VC, they'd be like, okay, we'll take 20% of your company or even more. Like, they're pretty rough out there. I mean, it's not all strawberry and cream, right? So you want to differ from that as long as possible until your company is at that level where you are evaluated, and then you can bring them in, and then you can have a fair share of the pie. What are your thoughts on that, Devin?
I think you're exactly right. Venture capitalists and even companies sometimes fall into a variety of traps related to venture capital. When you raise a large amount of money, one of the
Mhm.
things that can happen is you can become a bit of a spendthrift, and you spend too much money and accomplish too little, and you can create problems.
Mhm.
There is, in fact, uh, a crowdfunding company called Mainvest that is going out of business right now. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened to them. They admitted they raised a bunch of capital, they established a burn rate, they paid everybody good salaries because they had raised millions of dollars of venture capital. They reached a point where they had not created a profitable business, couldn't raise more venture capital. And so
They
they
went
were
under.
sort of done.
Yeah.
They cooked their own goose. At the
Mhm.
same time, there are a number of crowdfunding portals that compete head to head with Mainvest that didn't raise venture capital, and so they spend money very, very wisely. They spend a tiny fraction each month of the amount of
Mhm.
money that Mainvest was spending, and they're still in business and will be in business for a long time to come. So, in my sort of little universe focused on crowdfunding, I can see that there's a bit of a trap with with venture capital, and there's another one too, and that is valuation.
Yeah.
If you're going to raise $5 million, venture capitalists are going to give you at least a $25 million valuation, and maybe 50,
Mhm.
25 to $50 million valuation at that point in that hypothetical investment round. Well, it's entirely possible that you could build a successful business that isn't worth that much, right? You could
Yeah.
build a business that is doing 10 or $20 million a year and is profitable, but isn't worth $50 million in 10 years. Holy cow. Um, that is another trap that is created by venture capital. But with crowdfunding, you can raise capital in smaller increments, at more modest valuations, and create more opportunity and more upside for organic growth. It can work really synergistically for entrepreneurs and for their investors and their community. So it's a great win-win opportunity for investors.
For investors and entrepreneurs, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're so right. And I just want to talk a little bit about this, just for other entrepreneurs like myself, who are listening, is that it's so important to grow lean. The more you grow, the leaner you should try to be, as long as you absolutely can't. And I have had to re-strategize multiple times about who are we hiring, what department needs help right now. A lot of times I'm doing like four people's job, and that's just normal entrepreneurship, because you need to first try to figure it out. And that's one place I feel I'm very lucky that my team, in terms of being finance or marketing, I am so invested that if for any reason tomorrow I have to step in one of their shoes to talk or present or anything, I can do that because I am so involved. So, as an entrepreneur, people should never think that we're just sitting here, just like hiring people and having them do things. No, you're hiring them for their expertise. But end of the day, it's still your business. And you have to know everything involved. So doing that has helped me stay really lean. Till today, we have a very, very close knit team, and all of us wear different hats, which I love because we all are so personally invested in the business to watch it grow. I've been working on this for last 4 years, Devin, exclusively day and night, like everything in, and I have not received a paycheck yet. So that is just something for people to understand. I know that we have to live a life, so I'm very fortunate that my husband is able to, give a roof above our head and put food on the table. That's wonderful. But I understand that some people don't have that option, and it's tough. But just think about the long run, right? The one thing I want to ask you, Devin, and I know like the time's just going by so fast. So my last question to you is, and then I'll have you talk about whatever topics you think we should be covering for this. One thing I say, how important is the entrepreneur of the business, how important it is to focus on the person. And I know that you have interviewed people from likes of Bill Gates and many other successful entrepreneurs. So what I'm trying to ask is, what qualities do you think a successful entrepreneur has?
Yeah, I think there is, first off, there are kind of two aspects to your question. One is the entrepreneur person, the person leading the enterprise, is that person important to the investment? And the answer is unequivocally. Venture capitalists have learned over the years that they would much rather invest in a B idea led by an A team than an A idea, right? A top idea led by a B team, right? The team is essential. So the manager, the leader, that's the critical person. So let's be clear about that. What makes that person successful? I think there are lots of factors that come into play, but for the sake of the time we have today, I think there is one primary feature that I see in you, Samreen, and that is persistence, right? You've been at this a while. You are not kidding around. This is not a passion project that you are going to undertake for a couple of weeks and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you'll walk away. No, you are going to do this. You're going to make this happen, right? And that is the characteristic, that persistence, that tenacity, that, get up and go, the gumption, whatever you want to call it, right? That characteristic is the vital essential for an entrepreneur's success, because every entrepreneur faces challenges. There are no one, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, none of the great entrepreneurs who became, multi-billionaires, some of the great leaders of our time or past generations, none of them did that by going from sort of a lower left, upper right in a straight line, right? They all experienced dips, challenges, and problems, and they persisted and overcame. And so you want to look for entrepreneurs who have that feature. And if you're an entrepreneur, you got to look inside yourself. Ask yourself, before you raise capital, am I persistent? Am I tenacious? Do I have the gumption to get through whatever is going to come? Because crap will come. That's guaranteed. The question is, can I overcome it? So that's how I would answer that question.
I think that's so important, and I can slice it into many different things. For example, I as an entrepreneur, I'll tell you what I think really keeps me going is this like blissfully ignorant underlying belief in what I'm doing. And nothing ever, I don't know how to say this, but nothing ever steers me from it. I've run into a problem where people have said, why would anybody buy your makeup? Why should anybody buy your makeup? Or people have thought about this as like a passion project, like you said. And in the beginning, it used to bother me a lot. And then now that where I am in terms of my business and myself as an entrepreneur, none of that really matters anymore because I know what I'm doing. And you have to have that belief in you. And I think if believe is the right word to keep persistence. And I call it being blissfully ignorant. I always say this, I am blissfully ignorant to come this far. But today I know where I'm going. But at that time, I was like, I'm going to make my own makeup brand. And Sephora is going to sell it. I just remember that's all I knew. I'm going to come up with a makeup brand because I'm a makeup artist and I don't know any other brand that has been founded by an expert. And I know I am an expert in my field. I have worked very hard and I've, given my time to it. And I don't know any other brand out there that is a South Asian makeup artist owned. So that was my vision. And here I am today talking to Devin Thorpe. I'm very proud.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled. We're thrilled that you're here and we have a chance to talk because this is such an important topic. One of the things that I know that there are people who are watching now and or will be watching later,
Yes.
who are going to feel like, "Yeah, I'm really interested, but I still have more questions. I'm interested, I'm serious, but I have more questions." I think you're willing to meet with those folks. Is that right? You're
I would
willing to
love
have a
to.
conversation?
Absolutely. There's nothing I love more than just talking about the business side of the brand. And I'm happy to introduce. We have the link here on the screen. If there's anybody out there watching this later or now, and you want to get more information about investing in Samreen's Vanity, I would love to have a one-on-one meeting with you. So you can book a time with this code on the screen right now.
Yeah, so you can scan the QR code and that's just going to pull up your Calendly scheduler so that people can book a meeting with you instantly, one-on-one, have a
Yes.
conversation. Of course, if you'd rather, if you don't have your phone handy, just scroll down this short link, s4g.biz/MWS, meet with
Mm-hmm.
Samreen, and that'll give you an opportunity to schedule. That'll just redirect to her Calendly link, get you right there. So I think that's a really important opportunity. If you're serious but not convinced, spend a little time one-on-one with Samreen, and I think you'll find that this is a place where you can park some money and have an opportunity for it to grow. So I
Yeah,
encourage
and
you
I
to
feel
do
like
that.
bring the community in. The one thing I want to say is like the day I remember I got my first investment, it was a totally different feeling for me. Like I woke up like supercharged and my stress level was like, I don't know, it was elevated in a way. I'm like, I have someone's money and I cannot even sleep on this. I need to do something big. I want to make these people proud. And I feel, I get all kinds of investment, Devin. It goes from $100 and I've had all the way to $100,000 of investment. And well, that's my son in the chat, guys. I love you, Ayan. I just had to give him a shout out. I love him. So so for me, like $100 investment is absolutely the same as $100,000 investment because I have someone's money. And to me, that's a huge liability. And I want to make sure that I go and I do something and I give them the return that they deserve for believing in me. So it's a different vibe. Some people, if that gets you going as an entrepreneur, take that route. But for me, just having the community back me and it just touches me so much. Like when somebody ends up saying, "Hey, I saw your interview." I think after our Columbia interview, I got the kindest messages and investment from all men. And they were like, "We believe in your vision." And I don't know, for some reason, I was just really moved by that. I'm like, "Thank you so much." They're like, we believe in this. We know we're going to see this grow, etc. And whatever their investment is. So I feel it's wonderful when the community gets together to build you.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
it is. And so, I think folks can just visit wefunder.com/Samreen's Vanity.
Hmm.
Uh, that's a lot of characters to type. You can scan the QR code there. That'll just redirect you right to that page.
Yes.
And that'll give you an opportunity, like I said earlier in our conversation. Those of you who joined us recently maybe didn't hear me say, but you know, the Securities and Exchange Commission requires complete disclosure, and they require, no messing around. There is a lot of information that's important and helpful to investors on that website. So you can go spend some time, read, digest, read everything that's there. There's a lot of helpful information, and it's intended to be enough to help you make a decision to invest. So, I encourage you to go there and really be thoughtful, read up carefully,
Right.
and make an investment decision. But you can support Samreen today just by visiting that website and jumping in.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I just feel times have changed, guys. We have to take power back in our own hands. We cannot just let the billionaires run the world anymore. You yourself can have your portfolio, and who knows what it's going to do for you. So far, I've made 5 investments on 5 different businesses, and I just love following their journey. I'm like, what are they doing? What's going on? And of course, a good brand or a company that you invested should always keep you informed. I think that is the one thing people should inquire before they invest. Like, what kind of reports are we going to be getting? How involved can we be, or how well informed are you going to keep us during your growth? Right, Devin? That's a very important thing too, because I've heard some brands who just take the money and vanish.
Yeah, that is so true. I think the
Hmm.
good news is it's rare for people to completely vanish. Um, it's also rare for people to do a great job
Hmm.
communicating as regularly as investors would like. Uh, but almost all entrepreneurs communicate some, and of course, they should all be following Samreen's model of be communicating regularly and effectively. But that
Overly.
really is important. It really is important for entrepreneurs. I would, that caution, that advice from Samreen is really important. You need to communicate more than you think.
I said this because I've heard it from other investors, and they always ask me this question, like, how informed are we going to be during the journey of brand development? And I said, it's your money. Like, I am answerable to you. So anything you need to know, firstly, I shouldn't even wait until the question comes up. It should already be part of the newsletter. The investors get to know what we're doing. And a lot of people know right now that we're going through rebranding. Because when I started the brand, I was an influencer for 5 years, and I was a makeup artist for the last 10 years. And I just took the same name and I made my brand. Now we're at that level that we're going to scale and we want to go international. So for that, the brand positioning has to be very different. And your branding DNA has to change a little bit so it can just conform to every around the world and requirements and litigations. So right now we're working on that. So we keep our investors informed on either through Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere else. I just feel like it's something we try to do. But I think this has been so good, like well-informed session, Devin. Is there anything you think we can cover before we sign off?
Well, I think we want to reiterate a couple of things that are really important. One,
Please.
everything people need to know. There's required disclosure at wefunder.com/Samreen's Vanity. People can visit there. They can go learn everything they need to know to make an investment. And anyone can invest. You know, uh, Ayan, your son who's 10, he can't invest. Everyone else can invest, right?
Yeah,
You
I
have to
did.
be you have to be an adult to invest, but that's the only requirement. Everyone can. There are some technicalities on how much, but
Yeah.
everyone can. So
And
I
I do want to
encourage
bring
everyone to
this
go check it out.
I do want to let you know this, that Ayan is 10, and because we talk about this, sometimes the dinner table conversations turn into these kind of like business updates. And he was so interested in investment that he's already invested in 2 companies. Whatever birthday money, etc., he got, we have invested it for him, and I make sure he follows it, because I think you want to have a career, you want to have a steady job, but I think in terms of investment and growing your portfolio, it just really opens up a totally different way of making money.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that is so cool. Yeah, I love Ayan. He's great. What a
Thank-
great kid. What a great young man. I think it's important for us to remind people who are serious about supporting you but aren't yet ready that they can
Mhm.
schedule time to meet with you one on one. That's such an important takeaway. And so I want people to, scan this QR code or plug in this link, or at least jot down this short link, s4g.biz/MWS, meet with Samreen, because I think it's so important for people who are serious to have a little one-on-one time with you to help them make up their minds, to really support you in a big and meaningful way. I realize those folks often don't feel comfortable making a big investment purely off of what they see on the WeFunder page. They want to do a little more due diligence, including spending a little one-on-one time with an entrepreneur. So those of you who are in that group, I encourage you to do that with Samreen. She's great. It's a special opportunity to get a little one-on-one time with Samreen. I'm grateful that I've had a little bit of that myself. And so I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. So that's kind of I think those are the key things for us to wrap up with.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Devin. I've thanked you a million times already, and I can't thank you enough even right now, because I know how precious your time is. But the moment I asked you, I said, Devin, let's do a webinar where everybody like me can learn the basics of crowdfunding and investment. And you were like, let's do it. Like you love to give back. You are so helpful. And I just hope that there are more people like you out there, because this is how, like, the help I got from you was just incredible. And the knowledge that you shared right now is priceless. So thank you so much for coming on board with us today.
Well, thank you, Samreen. You're the best, and
Devin,
wish
really
you every
quickly,
success.
Before you go, Devin, can you share with our listeners right now, or people watching, how can they find you? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So if you visit s4g.biz, s4g.biz is a short link to our channel, and you can see, among other things, my recent past interview with Samreen. And also on that website, you'll find, if you scroll back just a few weeks, you'll find Samreen's presentation at Supercrowd Chicago. So there's some great content there that you'll love finding, especially if you're part of Samreen's community and haven't yet checked it out. So thanks, Samreen. I appreciate that shout out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Devin. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for you. Don't forget to leave us a message, and thank you for tuning in.
All righty.
Bye, Devin.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye.